Okay, House of Payne fans, this is the review for Season 11, Episode 15, The Paranoid and the Private. Now, the episode synopsis. Someone breaks into Curtis's food truck and a much-loved family heirloom, an old hookey pot used to make his father's special sauce, is stolen. And that's pretty much the A story of the episode. I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Probably one of the best episodes that I recall seeing of House of Payne in like the past month. Really, this was great. This was a great episode. I think the reason I won't give it a 10 out of 10 is that the A story really wasn't strong enough to lead the episode. It was the B story that really, piqued my interest. The fact that it was Miranda who got a promotion at work and wanted to use the extra money to send Christian to, I believe, Excelsior, which is a private school, instead of the public elementary school that he's currently in, which is the same school that Calvin went to. It was one of those conflicts or, sources of confrontation of the episode that I felt was well done. It's just that we didn't have a lot of time to focus on it because we spent more time on the hookey pot. But overall, I think what made the confrontation, if you will, so good is that it wasn't Calvin and Miranda clashing swords or anything. They were just both stating their, stances. And I could see both sides of it. But let's just talk about the whole hookey pot thing first and get that out the way. First of all, Calvin's boy Peanut is back. So I think earlier this season, when Calvin and Miranda got it on when he was drunk, Pookie had returned, but now we finally got the return of Peanut. This definitely felt like just a natural House of Payne episode. It really did. So Ella has breakfast made, and Calvin and Peanut are eating in true Peanut fashion. He's thankful for the breakfast, but hey, thanks for having us over, Miss Payne. Well, actually, Peanut, you really didn't get invited over. You just, ran in after me before I can close the door. Well, yeah, it was either that or cigarettes and water for breakfast. So from there, he gets kicked out when he runs his mouth a bit too much in terms of Calvin's other activities, like getting high. And then Miranda comes in because from there, Calvin had mentioned how Miranda's is coming over with big news and, is it to give your manhood back? Man, what you talking about? Ever since you've been with her back in the day, you lost your manhood, dog. But no, Peanut gets the boot. Y'all acting funny. Y'all changed lately. So it was just good to see him. Then he pops up at the end of the episode, but he was just around long enough to have you going, man, really makes you miss House of Payne. I think the last time I remember seeing the actor was, on Hawkeye on Disney Plus. So yeah, he's definitely, getting acting gigs here and there, and I love to see it for these Tyler Perry alumni. But Miranda comes in, and as I said before, she gets a promotion at work and wants to send Christian to the private school. From there, we go over to Curtis, who's been robbed. I even theorized this in my trailer breakdown, I believe, where I said, Curtis might think he was robbed, but perhaps he just misplaced a pot, considering, the truck, nothing was like stolen other than this one thing, and nothing appeared to be broken or anything broken into, so he might have misplaced the pot. But later on we find out what happened to it, and it's classic House of Payne. But the reason it's important to him is the pot that his dad used back in the 70s, and he perfected his barbecue sauce recipe with it. And later on, we learned that the pot had even more sentimental meaning due to the fact that, it's just like the memories he had with his father making stuff in the pot and, really bonding and learning things from him. But he decides to contact Glow in order to get help, being the HOA president and whatnot. But later on, he's on the phone with the police station. He's going off because they're not really, doing their job according to Curtis in finding the pot. Ella claims, that look, Ella was like, look, you need to calm down, Curtis. You're doing too much, and you're acting really paranoid. And from there, having the food truck robbed, Curtis is afraid that the house is next. But we got Glow coming over. I think, what is it? She has like floodlights or floor lights for the food truck. And, Curtis explains the situation. And it's funny because they kind of bond over the pot because she knows, oh, wait, you talking about a hookah pot with 3 thermal settings? Yeah. Oh, that piece of junk. And then, he goes off. But, her mom had one back in the day, too. So later on in the episode, even after questioning people around the neighborhood, no word on the pot. And, it turns ugly when we got Curtis blaming Glow, saying that, you're probably the one that stole the pot to, get me out of business. So then Peanut comes up with the pot in hand, and it turns out he was the one that took the pot because one night, he was eating food at that one restaurant he mentioned at the beginning of the episode to Calvin, but they have a terrible health code violation grade. And I think he got sick in the pot, so he threw up in it. So then he's like, I hosed it out, Mr. Payne, but you might want to use bleach or something. So from there, Curtis is, all right. But basically, that's the A story. Like I said, this should have been the B story. The main story should have been the whole whether or not Miranda and Calvin would put their son in the private school or keep him in the elementary school. That should have been the main story. And even if it was the main story, that doesn't mean we needed to see these two having an ugly argument. They could have had some very solid points on both sides, and that could have been a good way to lead the episode. But basically, Calvin isn't sure about the school, and he wants Christian to be around, other black students, have black educators. And, Miranda tells him to be a bit more open-minded. And this is when they're over at the loft. So then over at Curtis and Ella's, he's talking to his folks about it. He talks to his dad specifically, but Curtis is all for the private school. He's like, look, if it gives my grandson an advantage, to hopefully get him into an Ivy League school, as Calvin pointed out, he's all for it. And Ella's like, well, I can understand your point too, Calvin. I mean, he's at the school that you went to. It's like, yeah, that's right, Mom. I mean, we know most of the teachers over there, grew up with them. It's just one of those things where it's sentimental, but we know those people. And Ella just suggests, why don't you just talk with Miranda about it, in order to get your own perspective across. So later at the end of the episode, that is, we are over at the loft again. Calvin and Miranda sit down and talk, and just notice how not all the time, but most of the time when it's just these two talking, there's no Laura, they get stuff done. Even when they don't agree, they are good at compromising. Laura seems to complicate things more than anything else. I'm not saying that Miranda and Calvin need to get back together. I'm saying that, wow, yeah, you really notice the difference when Laura is absent. So Calvin shows her an old yearbook, basically like, yeah, that stage where I played Frederick Douglass in a play and whatnot. That's the same stage, Christian walked on when he got the medal. And, these are different teachers. Like, oh yeah, his 3rd grade teacher was my 2nd grade teacher. And this teacher, just retired. So it was a really good conversation of, wow, okay, Calvin, I didn't know this. And he's like, yeah, I should have told all this to you earlier. And she was like, yeah, what we can do is schedule a tour to look through Excelsior. And then from there, make an informed decision, because that was just great co-parenting. And like Calvin said at the beginning of the episode, it was like, wow, those schools, are kind of snooty, white people, some racist and whatnot. But then Miranda's like, well, I went to a private school, and, the alumni have stellar, reviews of the, school itself. So things aren't always what they used to be. And yeah, I like the way that, Calvin kind of came across as confrontational by looking down at the private school for not being that black. And then you have Miranda saying that, well, I went to one. That doesn't mean I'm, like that either. So I really did like it. This was a good episode. I mean, I could see both sides of the confrontation. What it reminds me of the episode of Assisted Living when Sandra was deciding what college to apply to. Her mom wanted her to go to the same school as she did because it was overall a great university. And, I think it was it Cora and Miss Anastasia who talked about the, going to a HBU because, you're around people like yourself and about culture and whatnot. So both things are important. It's just a matter of which one do you find important. So yeah, overall, strong episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.